President Cyril Ramaphosa has conveyed his heartfelt condolences on the said passing of legendary radio personality Bob Mabena, who passed away yesterday at the age of 51. Ramaphosa says he met Mabena on a number of occasions and followed him as a renowned radio and TV personality. More tributes continue to pour in from broadcasters, with many sharing their fond memories of the legendary broadcaster. And let's hear from former colleagues who worked with Bob Mabena during the days of Radio Bop. And we have Ben Dikobe on the line, who we used to share studios with him during that time. And thank you very much for coming through, Ben. Share with us your fond memories of Bob.
I know Mabena was a man of, he was generous, number one. Generous with information, generous with knowledge, generous with...
Unmute him.
He was a very loving individual, loving father. That's what I know very well, and I remember very well, keenly about him. The love that he gave his children and the love that he showered on his children. But more than anything, from a professional point of view, a consummate professional, a very dedicated individual, passionate about radio, passionate about the direction that the media was actually supposed to be going in. Always had an opinion, about the events that were happening around, although in some instances he was not very vocal about it. But he was a very passionate and a very driven individual. Quietly confident sometimes, and you would mistake that for somebody who was maybe unsure of himself, but he was never short of any confidence in himself, and I suppose the reason that he has scaled the heights that he has was purely from the fact that he was a very driven, very passionate individual, and always willing to learn from everyone. It didn't matter how old you were, it didn't matter how new you were to the industry, but always willing to listen, always willing to share his thoughts and his ideas, and learn, learn from everyone else. So from our part, particularly the class of 89 and 90, we were not only friends, not only colleagues. It moved from being colleagues to friends, and then we ended up as brothers who kept in touch for the better part of the 31 years that we've actually known each other.
Mm-hmm. Ben, one would wonder how you got to cut your teeth into the world of broadcasting, because as young people back then, there were strict conditions that one had to be taken as a radio personality, the issue of voice, knowledgeability, and certain qualifications and all that. And coming to grow together, how did you manage to work as a team and as brothers, both in and outside the studio, and remaining with the legacy that you came up with from Bob and going to different radio stations, but always being connected with your alma mater?
The culture at that particular time, at Radio Bop in particular, was one of openness and one of a willingness to learn, because we walked in there, we were called the kindergarten. Our generation that walked in there, it is called the kindergarten. We were very young. I was 21 at the time when I cut my teeth in radio. Bob was 19. Everyone else afterwards, from George Manyosi, George was, same age as I am and stuff. So, and then Zandile was much younger, Zandile Nzalo. I should not actually forgot her. She was much younger. But as I'm saying, what happened is there was a culture that actually existed at that particular time. It was fostered on open communication at all times. It was also on us recognizing that the big guns who had been there, Bo Brother Edie, Dikole, may his soul rest in peace as well, Motebo Homati, Mabo Lawrence, then Dube, and now Tabani and stuff, they were our seniors. So we deferred to them. As much as we came in with new ideas, with fresh ideas, sometimes very revolutionary ideas that changed the landscape in some way or another. But we're always being taught to defer to them, to listen to them, because they were the voice of reason. They knew what had happened before. And the balance between new ideas and that wisdom that existed, Bob Ratimi and stuff, is what actually propelled, us as maybe as a collective, and a collective from that particular era, to move to greater heights, to move and, as you could say, conquer the world. But more than anything else, it was also the individual drive that everyone else had.
All right, so now coming to one upskilling themselves in as far as the experience of radio is concerned, you would remember that year on year there would be lineup reshuffle. New DJs would be hired. They would be recruited from community radio stations to join the mainstream broadcasting in what we can call senior radio stations or popular radio stations. But what with you guys and your legacy, it's not easy to reshuffle you. It's not easy to replace you. For example, you're looking at the likes of Glenn Lewis, even Bob at his prime. You are still doing the breakfast show. When you look at the late Tebo Manyapu, when he was on radio, he was always doing prime time. Why is it that with you guys and your experience, we're always consistent? But when it comes to the new generation, they get reshuffled all the time. Sometimes they get removed and then they're replaced by others. There isn't any kind of consistency. Is there perhaps a lack of training, experience, and skill to make them strong in whatever programs they are given so that they can be world-class broadcasters in any kind of programs they are allocated on?
As a former manager myself, I can allude to one simple reason. The reason is systems. If you have the best systems in place, the proper systems in place, systems to nurture your talent, to grow your talent from the moment you actually identify the talent and then grow it, and then set a path of, trajectory of growth for that particular talent, it is very rare that the talent will fail. It is very rare that you will have to reshuffle along the way, en masse, like we see, currently in many radio stations. So systems, put in place a proper, set of systems that will ensure that your focus is on growth of your talent. You value your talent more than anything else. You keep on appraising your talent at every point. But at the same time, you also have a certain element of discipline towards a particular talent. So, but unfortunately, what you also see now, and I say this with a bit of trepidation as well, is that you find individuals who are coming in new behind the ears with not enough knowledge and information about what it is that they're supposed to do. So instead of the station actually harnessing, whatever talent that they do, the station actually literally wants them to be like Moses and perform miracles. It's not possible, Talent exists in everyone else, but it is what you do with honing the talent. Let's look at the metaphor of soccer very quickly. There are the likes of the Dr. Kumalos of this world, the Ntiema PKs and everyone else who started at a very tender age. What did they do? With the proper systems at Kaizer Chiefs at that particular time, they ended up being one of the, some of the best soccer players of their particular generation, purely because they were working within a particular system. So in essence, for me, and I'm speaking, let's say, I'm wearing the, the management hat and saying, systems, and once you do, then you know that you're good to go. Of course, there's a myriad of other things that we'll also have to do, but systems are the most important aspect of things.
All right. Thank you so much for making time to speak with us and sharing your memories of Bob Mabena. This is Ben Dikobe, who is a former colleague of Bob Mabena, and also he was the station manager of Mozoling FM when they were still working at Bob. They managed to actually harness their talent and grow their skill and remain legendary up to this day. When you talk about Bob Mabena, you can still talk about where he came from. When you talk about Ben Dikobe, we were supposed to have George Manyosi as well, who was doing the Jolly Good Show with Ben Dikobe by then also. And of course, unfortunately, we're not able to connect with him right now due to logistical arrangements, but he actually would have loved to be on our program today. So we're remembering Bob Mabena, the legend of radio, the legend on TV, and remembering his television gig for the first time he did On the Beat on Bop TV. He also did the morning breakfast show on Radio Bop. He joined Power FM. He also did a studio mix with Melanie San, and he also tried in music, and of course with Dr. Kumalo, and of course Bob Mabena.